my whole kind of analysis on it is we're looking at, if you look at the actual text, what the semi-settled hunter-gatherers at the time were writing and experiencing, they're saying, first of all, they were referred to as the black-headed ones, which meant they were differentiating hair color between the invaders.
Oh, thank God. I thought they had bad skin. Okay, good.
And then you have no, that's never thought of it that way, but yes. No, but as far as their skin goes, they were called the Adama, and that was also the term for red, like the red clay of the earth.
So this just sounds like the Phoenician thing. The Edomites. Bonnie Prince Harry.
So you have the story of these individuals who are there, and the archaeology presents them as being roughly about 5'1" in their height. They're smaller in stature. Their skeletons that have been discovered have been rubbed down with this red ochre to suggest it's not a leap to think that they were also painting themselves in that.
Sounds like they're really into that.
Yeah.
I don't really get the skeletons being rubbed down with the red stuff. Like they're waiting for their homies to decompose so they can polish their bones with some red stuff before burying them. Something about that strikes me as odd, but this clip lays out something that Kurt's been trying to get across for almost the whole time Derp with Kurp has been going.
Yeah, and so when you look at the Abrahamic view of how Adam was made, he was made, and I say Abrahamic because it's Jewish and Muslim. We don't emphasize it a lot in Christianity.
Thank you. There's no Judeo-Christian. That's a marketing term like gender-affirming care. It's called Abrahamic.
Abrahamic. Yes. And so you have the account of Adam being created out of the clay of the earth. Mm-hmm. And so you have this account then of these individuals who say these larger others came, and they were called the shining ones. And that could refer to perhaps they were tall whites, whatever, but perhaps they were also then shining because they had advanced metallurgy, like copper alloy, like a lot lot of different things.
Maybe they could sing and dance.
Maybe they could just, yeah. So they were
Sparkle, baby.
So they're like Liberace or something. So
yeah, I dig it.
Yeah. And so they come in and they subjugate the hunter-gatherers that are there, and they make them work for them, which is like the origin of the word worship is not you bow down and just like say things, you work for. It's the work for this individual.
Wait, that's the etymology? It means
yes, it means to work for.
I don't want to just pass over the Abrahamic religion note where they're talking about how Judeo-Christian values are a scam, but worshiping having etymology that leads back to meaning work for makes so much sense, and it's right there. I can't believe I never put it together. It seems to have lost that meaning and become mystical in some way in modern times, and that's pretty sketchy. It really puts a nail in the coffin for religious organization for me, because I think if I was aware of that, I would have woken up to this much sooner. If I'm working for free, there's got to be passion or something behind that, and I'm not someone you can just birth into that sort of thing. Religions are just small groups of evil perverting history shrouded by good flock, all for the sake of power.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it means they've essentially made these individuals work for them by digging and promoting agriculture, digging like the aqueducts and all of this. Now, this is where it's like kind of like the cargo cult situation.
I think that too. Like it seems so much like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, because it makes when you talk about the Anunnaki and their attributes, they're very human. They're not supernatural. All
those gods seem like creepy Hollywood people you heard about in the Epstein files. Those might as well be the Olympus files.
They have very specific ways they wanted to be worshipped too. Like, so when it comes to food preparation, a way of animal sacrifice worship, etc., they were like, no boiling. We don't want boiled meat. Like, who does? It was all open grill. They had recipes for their sacrifices. Right. They had all these things. If you go back,
so people that died, and that's why they like to smell the meat. Their ghost likes to smell. The Phoenician, who's the guy who writes about those Phoenicians? They're all just people. They got deified.
I think this is a really interesting concept that could actually be the case. It doesn't sound that far-fetched to me that someone would create insane myths to describe the power imbalance and wild stuff that was going on at the time in a way that's likely optimal for oral tradition, where I imagine a lot of the more complex scientific information ends up encoded in these impossible-sounding ways.
The way John McCain was given to Hestia's bosom when he passed on, that piece of shit.
And now we sing his song of bomb, bomb, bomb.
Yes, I do. I mean, hey, the guy had some good ideas.
Right. So I just imagine his buddy Lindsey Graham just out there on the lanai.
We'll talk about the Shekinah. Oh, we're gonna get all them.
His little ladybugs. Did you see that thing on Reddit? I gotta send you that because you'll never look at it. It's about his hemorrhoids that he calls his little ladybugs. It's a whole. It's his whole. I'll send it to you, but yeah, it's his little ladybugs were like happy. So
doctor said they're warts. But I don't believe him.
No.
Now on to Ukraine.
So that's what's been going on, is this idea of the cargo cult mentality. And now what they did, though, when they came in, is they created a priest class. And this is where we get the idea of the Nephilim and, of course, genetic engineering, because, of course, they genetically engineered people.
Because I was like, okay, clearly the history of everything is this corrupt priest class that is using somehow got like the codes, like those internet things, like one weird trick to get into her pants,
Yes.
And because when you hear about them, they're always like intergalactic sex tourists looking for younger species that they shouldn't be doing that with. They're akin to bestiality and PDF filed them. So that every time I look at it, that's exactly how it comes off to me, man.
This whole thing with the priest class basically being an elevated translator makes a lot of sense. If there were some invading force bestowing technology, you would need some level of communication. And unless it was telepathy, the best person to give the orders and convince the group of people being invaded to go along with everything would be the representatives that were either chosen or elected, and they would more than likely be elevated in society, sort of like we have a deep state and levels of classification above the president. Honestly, I think this sounds a lot like it continues today underneath UFO and NHI lore, but I can't say for certain. I do kind of think that reality goes harder than fiction in many cases.
Well, they had to bridge the gap between the language. So Sumerian, and why it's usually referred to as the Sumerian problem, is that it appears on the scene out of nowhere, and it's not related to any of the other languages nearby. And so it's clearly an invader. And then it comes in, and in order to then speak, there's the going in between. So you have the priest class who can speak to the hoi polloi, and then the ones that can speak to the gods, and then they have this system built up. But
there's a guy who was probably full of shit, but I just remember a detail. Sean David Morton or something, but he used to say this alien race considered our language a disease. And it makes me think of the Tower of Babel or all these things where, I know people think aliens built shit, but being a Jehovah, and I bet an Amish could relate to this, they have these quick build projects. Okay. And the reason is everybody is spiritually connected and working on the same thing and nothing else with pure dedication. No, who's doing that at their job for no pay? It's religion to do that. Okay. And I've seen a guy make his own Stonehenge in his yard with tools he made so it can be done. It was very clever how he did it. But imagine you got a workforce and nothing but that guy. And not only that, they don't got to talk. They're telepathic. I'll bet you could get all kinds of things you thought were impossible done.
When he's talking about that story of our language being called a disease, this may be out there, and I've done mushrooms many times, but there was this one time in particular I felt like I was getting a download. I just started typing it out as I was getting it on my old laptop, and essentially it was saying something very similar, and it basically boiled down to a sense of love and understanding, but also a big thing about how our language is like using 2D words for 3D concepts, where we're encapsulating shallower versions of things that should be more rich and full that lead to deeper understanding. Like, not that we're just missing language for certain concepts, but what we have is incomplete, for a lack of a better term. Maybe it has something to do with bandwidth and the speed of transmission to be efficient. I don't really know. And looking at the notepad file makes me cringe because I feel like a crazy person for doing it. And even now I question myself, and I'm skeptical of it. But I know that for sure in the moment, I was 100% convinced I was connected with something and receiving a download. This has never happened any other time. And like I said, in the past, I was a bit of a connoisseur. I know my way around these things. It was just this one time stands out. Anyways, take that how you will. Even I think it's cringy and weird, but let's continue.
Well, they worship the word. That's why we have Sumerian as like the beginning of history, because they wrote everything down.
Is that what Yuval Harari's saying in that stupid web speech? So if the books are written the language and we have language, then the language is God. That's what he's talking about.
In the beginning, there was the word, and the word was
you're right.
God. So, and that's the logos, that's logic, that's the principle that comes in, is the ordering force over the Shekinah. All of this, it's all connected through all these different world systems. It used to be called by Jordan Maxwell, whatever about him, but that old time.
Sometimes he's off about some things. That guy.
he was super. I mean, but like he was. Yeah.
Oh, I saw a pterodactyl.
He was nuts, but he was putting out like in his grift, which was a grift, but he was putting out.
He was working with the Nation of Islam, much like Scientology, which my friend Aaron from Growing Up Scientology explained to me. Farrakhan licenses Scientology for all the Black Nation of Islam people. That's that weird connection with Will Smith, where they're Scientologists, but they're not. These fucking sorcerers, because that's sorcerer class. That's what you call it. You're dead right. The final initiation in religion in those orders is to make
making your own.
I think I may have put clips up with Aaron and Kurt talking about Scientology being licensed out, and I'm guessing if I did, it's one I already unlisted, and I'll explain that real quick. I'm unlisting a lot of the videos that are only clips without my input, so that when I reapply for the partner program in a month, hopefully they'll see that this isn't a channel of just reused content that they want to keep suppressing, and I'm hoping that that's when the channel will start performing well again. But anyways, let me know if you're interested in me digging up that clip again and making another video.
Absolutely, because then that's how you can be worshipped as God. That's becoming God.
Ron Hubby did it.
Yeah, well, Mormons have that too.
It's amazing. You said this is shit I've been blathering, not as good as probably how you're saying it. For the entire every episode, I probably said
you're right on all this stuff. It's amazing. The only thing I have different is I kind of just like lay it out like in a system where you can follow all the etymology and have my sources. I take an academic approach to it, but
no, dude, I cannot wait to get you books. I just absolutely can't wait. And
well, temper your expectation because they're for like go to my Substack.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of this video. When I found this clip, I was surprised because it's a good summary of something Kurt has been trying to say, and I almost missed this clip entirely. Either way, like always, if you want to support me in the continuation of making this content, please consider subscribing to the Patreon and checking out the links below. I was finally able to get the Adrenochrome Fanmade 9990 doc up, and I'll leave a link to that as well. Anyways, you guys take care, and I'll see you in the next one.